steak sounds good right about now.
It's not even noon. Although, yes, I agree. Salisbury steak sandwiches.
I had a sandwich before, though.
Beautiful, isn't it? This is the center of the British Lostbelt. See that super ominous castle-looking thing over there? That's Camelot. These days, Britain is divided into north and south regions, and Camelot sits between them. Most people live here in the southern central area. The four main cities in this region are Salisbury, the great cathedral, Norwich, the nearest port town, Gloucester, the city of fashion, and Oxford, the great dining hall. Each city is run by the head of a fairy clan.
Sorry to interrupt, but what about our other two companions?
Huh? I see. So there were others from Chaldea with you. I'm very sorry, but you were the only one I managed to find. And as you can see, it's just me right now, so tracking you down was the best I could do. But that leads nicely to my next point. Can you tell me what this mash of yours looks like? As long as I know what she looks like, I can have Blanca look for her. Blanca? Who's that? Didn't you just say you were alone? Oh, right. Here, let me introduce you. Pretty cute, right? I talk with her a lot. I guess you can call her my friend? Anyway, she's very neat, very smart, and above all, she's a hard worker. If anyone can track down MASH, she can. Okay, now that that's settled, how about we start by sharing what we all know with one another? You tell me your story and I'll tell you mine.
And you know the rest?
I see. So you've conquered 5 Lost Belts thus far. And while you weren't originally planning to come to Britain, you, Mash, Leonardo, and Tristan wound up coming here to investigate this collapse. But then after the 4 of you landed here, you got separated in the Nameless Woods. That's unfortunate. No, I'm sorry I couldn't be more helpful. I had no idea you weren't the only one lost. If I'd only been more attentive back then, maybe I could have tracked down Mash and Leonardo as well. But I was so excited about finding you that I forgot all about everything else.
So then, you were the one I saw at the beach before I lost consciousness. Right. If I remember right, there's some sort of thing with this to where the choices actually matter.
In terms of, like...
In terms of you actually telling the truth to Oberon.
Well, knowing what I know about Oberon's class, and knowing what I know about Oberon in his original story...
Yeah, so it's just like, should we tell them the truth? Or because I know it doesn't really impact what happens in the end of the Lost Belt, it's just more of like...
Dialogue alteration.
Yeah. Because I want to say, if you decide to just completely lie to him...
Well, here's what I'll say. I'll say that in the original, in Midsummer's Night's Dream, Oberon is a cool guy. Mm-hmm. Like, he is nice for a Fae. He is thoughtful, he thinks things out, and he's a good friend. He's a chill dude. I don't know how Fate is portraying Oberon, personality-wise, really.
Yeah.
So I can't really make a judgment. I can only go based on what I know about Oberon from the lore.
Yeah, and so far he seems pretty...
nice.
Yeah, so far.
Maybe a little bit arrogant.
Let's see. I'll just say, yeah, because we did kind of see them.
Yeah, and, you know, the Master of Chaldea is kind of, you know, characterized as being an honest sort.
Yeah.
For the time being, there's one thing we can and should check. Mash is your contracted servant, right? Then you should have a magical energy connection with her. If it's still active, then we'll at least know she's alive, even if we don't yet know where she is. How about it? Can you check on that for us?
She's alive. What a relief.
Great. Then all we have to do now is find her. And Leonardo's a servant too, right? Then I'm sure she's still alive and kicking too. Fortunately, the fairies here can't tell the difference between their fellow Fae folk and servants. So as long as they're not human, they shouldn't be in too much danger. So let's just stay calm and trust them to handle themselves. Next, Artoria. Is there something you'd like to say to me?
No, not right now anyway. Honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything I just heard about Chaldea, proper human history, the Lostbelts, and so on. Although, getting back to servants, heroic spirits, is it like a human turning into a fairy after they die? And you said you both, and Tristan, are servants yourselves?
That's right. If you want to know more about heroic spirits and servants, I'm sure Jack there will be happy to fill you in on the way. Between a resident of this lost belt like you and a master from proper human history who's a guest in this world, you two should be able to catch each other up on almost everything. On the way, you said, does that mean you have a destination in mind, Oberon? I do indeed. When you're trying to track someone down, a big city's your best bet. Besides, you and Jack both need to get used to the way things work here in Fairy Britain. So our next stop is Salisbury, the biggest city in the south. There we'll find food, clothing, shelter, everything we need, really. It's just about a full day's walk from here. I know you've been up all night, but do you think you can make the trek?
Of course.
Good answer. You've definitely got spirit, but you're also tempering it with a healthy dose of cool-headedness. I like that.
Salisbury, huh? What should I do? It might be kind of dangerous to go back now. I also can't leave Jack to fend for himself. Plus, I don't care what this Oberon guy says. He really seems a lot like Merlin. Would it be okay if I tagged along too, Jack? I know I mistakenly went by Mash's name for a while there, but I want to know more about you and, oh, right, proper human history. Oh, sorry, I just assumed you'd be coming with us. Right, of course not. Oh gosh, what am I even saying? Of course, you wouldn't want a country bumpkin like me tagging along, huh? You're shaking my hand again? Does that mean it's okay? Of course, I'm glad to have you with us, Artoria.
Ah, yes. Now that's a lovely friendship. I was definitely on pins and needles back in Cornwall, but it seems not interfering was the right choice after all. In theatrical terms, I believe this is the part where we say, now that the actors are in place, the real story can begin. Chaldea alone won't be enough. The Child of Prophecy alone won't get there in time. So we'll need both to defeat the mighty Morgan.
The mighty Morgana.
Dot hack references.
Okay, now we have full access, so... Just one more spook to getting MP5.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm just like, wow.
Ah, the prophecy was true. That girl is our star of hope. She will be our salvation. She will be our path to forgiveness. She's our savior who drifted to our shores with a ship full of treasure. She's the one who will hear the voice of paradise and chant the promised name. Ah, dear Artoria. May you grow to the age of 16, healthy and strong. May the Queen's soldiers never find you. One day you will go on a journey to ring the 6 bells and save all of Britain. A journey to welcome our true king. Gloucester, Salisbury, Oxford, Norwich, Orkney. We may not know where the 6th bell is, but we are confident you'll find it. The staff of selection has chosen you. You are Fairy Britain's only hope. Now go on, hurry. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Hurry and greet your 16th birthday. We have complete faith in you. Good kid, I know. The village is done for. The executioner squads are here. Hold your head high and grip your staff tight. Now is the time to begin your journey, Artoria. Remember, no matter what anyone says, you are unquestionably the Child of Prophecy. You're the spitting image of her.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm so weak. I'm sorry I can't live up to your expectations. I'll do my best, I promise. As much as I can. Smack. get it. There aren't many things cozier than a campfire. Huh? Oh no, was I asleep? I just remember Tristan playing his harp and then...
Oh, how this saddens me. I was merely trying to soothe your exhaustion. But I cannot help but notice you don't seem to care for my music, my I mean, Maid Autoria.
I'm sorry, I'm just not used to hearing music. But it really did help me fall asleep peacefully. I left if you played it again when it's bedtime.
Ouch. You wound me, Maid Autoria. No bard wants to be told his music puts people to sleep. Hey, you can't blame her. We've been walking non-stop nearly all day. We're all exhausted. That's why we're camping out here tonight before making our way to Salisbury tomorrow morning. Artoria, you can put up a bounded field to keep wild animals away, right? I hate to ask since I know you're sleepy, but would you mind?
Oh, yes, of course. Okay, I'll be back soon.
Now then. I know we told Artoria that proper human history is like a parallel world to Britain, but of course that's not the whole truth, is it?
I wonder if that tree in the background is the former tree of emptiness.
It's possible. The truth is, proper human history is the rightful historical timeline, and it's fundamentally incompatible with this world of fairy Britain. As Chaldea, you have to erase the Lostbelts to ensure humanity's future. And now you're trying to come up with a way to tell Artoria this without hurting her too badly.
I know it's wrong to hide that, but...
I see. I suppose you have betrayed the people of 5 Lostbelts already.
Damn.
I mean, that's a way to phrase it.
Yeah.
I usually pride myself on being an excellent conversationalist. But even I'm having trouble coming up with the right words to heal the wounds in your heart. So for now, the best I can do is offer some words of consolation. It's okay, Jack. This Lostbelt won't fall by your hand. Remember, it's falling apart on its own. If anything, I'd say you're doing it a favor.
Really?
Yes, indeed. Human history simply could not ever prosper in this version of Britain. It's a flawed world that was always destined for destruction. History took a dreadfully wrong turn here. The only problem is that it's threatening to take proper human history down with it when it all goes to pot. That's why guys like us from proper human history have to do whatever we can to save it. And that means defeating the one who's been ruling it from on high for 2,000 years. High Queen Morgan. Hold on. Did you say Morgan? As in that Morgan?
The Factor?
Yep, that Morgan. The same one who proved to be King Arthur's ultimate Achilles heel in proper human history, even after he united all of Britain. The extraordinary witch who lured King Arthur into countless traps so she could take Camelot for herself. And the mother of Mordred, the treacherous knight, the child of King Arthur who proved to be his downfall. She's the one who ultimately destroyed Britain, and here she's Fairy Britain's ruler, and she will bring it all to ruin. Let's see. I think you Chaldeans would probably refer to her as this Lostbelt's king.
Or technically Lostbelt Queen.
Hey, if they say king, they're a king.
Yeah.
There's historical precedent for that.
Yeah. Let's see. King Arthur's archenemy here in this Lostbelt.
Anyway, based on everything you've told me, it sounds like Morgan's behind the outside world abnormality. So as long as you can defeat her, that should end the threat to proper human history. After that, you can just leave this place to its fate. Whether it falls apart or pulls itself back together, you won't need to feel bad about it. Look, over there. What was it a Lostbelt needs to survive again? A tree of emptiness? Well, I'm guessing that world tree, the giant ash over there beyond the sea, is it. And as you can see, it's been dead for a long time. So this Lostbelt definitely hasn't got long left.
Was it ever on fire at any point?
Oh yeah, now that you mention it, it was. It went up in flames not too long ago, and then died out again just as quickly as it started. I wonder what that was all about anyway. Anyway, I think that's enough talk for tonight. Don't want to overdo the info dump. So even if you don't remember anything else we talked about tonight, at least remember this. Defeat High Queen Morgan, ruler of Fairy Britain. Nice and simple, right? As for the rest, I'll tell you once we reach Salisbury. Once you see a Fae city for yourself, I think you'll have a much better handle on what life in Britain is like. Whoops! Sorry to interrupt, but we got monsters. Get ready to fight, Jack.
I'm so sorry. I accidentally slipped a couple steps when I was making the bounded field. I ended up summoning a pack of wild birds by mistake. Could you help me out, please?
I never thought the day would come when my liege would beg me for help. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting she's not the King Arthur I knew. Oh, this is so embarrassing.
Even if she's not, I'm still glad to have her around.
Me too. It's such an honor that it actually makes me feel sorry for the other knights of the Round Table. Here they come. Be careful, Jack. Britain's beasts are not to be trifled with.
Especially look out for the dreaded Varpal bunny. Alright. Thank God for the super speed. Oh, I think we actually do make that joke. Buzoiku.
You do a battle. I'll do a battle. Try and catch it. You know, a lot of people talk about double Castorias or double Scotties, but what can you really say about double Castoria and Cascadi? Trick question. It's Space's jar.
Yeah, I'm just like, whenever I get the story, I just try to bring servants that are close to getting bond up to get more quartz. Yeah, we won! No, we trounced them. Man, that feels good.
Oh, this makes me happy. That was the first battle I've won handily since being summoned.
Hey, Arturia, are you actually pretty, competitive? Oh no, it's nothing really. I'm just glad I was able to contribute.
I see. So you're already strong enough to handle murder of night crows without much trouble, huh? Very nice. That's even better than I was expecting. Tristan, your bow may not be particularly strong, but its range is exceptional. You're clearly well suited for battles against large groups. With you on our side, I bet we could win no matter how outnumbered we may be. And as for you, Artoria, you're much more of a wild card than you look. Is that strange tool of yours handmade? A rare weapon like that'll be very effective against an opponent who's never seen it before, especially as a distraction. And above all, your summons were fascinating, Jack. Temporarily summoning heroic spirits to aid in battle, huh? I had no idea it was such a flexible and powerful way to fight. Human magecraft doesn't tend to work very well against fairies, but summoning heroic spirits is definitely an exception. The only problem with it is how long you can last, given the incredible demands on your stamina, magical energy, and sheer luck. Plus, it seems like the longer the battle lasts, the more of a toll it takes on you. But as long as you're careful about that, you should be able to handle anyone, fairy or not.
Wait a moment, human magecraft? You can use magecraft, Jack? Just barely thanks my Mystico, but yep. Oh gosh, I'm sorry, I'm just a little taken aback. You see, magecraft isn't really used much in Britain. Basically, fairies perform sacraments without any help from basic magecraft spells or mysticodes. So magecraft is considered unnecessary and at best, only practiced by weirdos at worst. In fact, to be totally blunt, if you tell people to use magecraft here, they tend to look at you all funny and ask you, why'd you go to all the trouble? Speaking from experience?
I see. You do have a point. Fairies simply have no need of magecraft. And since this Britain is a land dominated by fairies, That would mean magecraft is effectively worthless here.
Yeah, because they're already manifestations of nature. So, so why do you use it then, Artoria? Oh man, after everything I just said, you really went there, Jack.
Now, it was an honest question, Artoria. You know he didn't mean anything by it, right? Anyway, you don't have to answer if you'd rather not. As for you, Jack, I'd suggest you wait for a better time before bringing this up again. Anyway, I think we might have gotten distracted from our main purpose. Now that we've got this nice camp set up, we should use it to get a good night's rest. I'm sure there's more you'd like to know about Jack, Artoria, but why don't we save that for tomorrow? Fortunately, there are none of the Queen's soldiers, no Moors, and no rebel army around here. And once we wake up in the morning, it's only another hour's walk to Salisbury, where we'll be able to have a much more in-depth conversation. After all, if you're going to have a fun discussion, you should save it for a nice and relaxing place, right?
That's just the world's history up until 2017. Wow, so other worlds really do exist. England, Scotland, Ireland. I mean, there's not really worlds that are just like other islands. And you said there are other countries besides beyond the Isle too, like France and Italy. I can't even imagine so many different countries and cultures and people. It sounds like you come from a really wonderful world. Britain without the fairies, huh? That sounds like a nice change of pace.
Well, from where Jack is sitting, I'd imagine he finds this Britain full of fairies to be quite the change of pace. I do have to correct you on one thing, though. It's not that there aren't any fairies at all in proper human history where Jack comes from.
There's just not that many.
While mystics have definitely faded since the AD era began, fairies are still around. Though, of course, there are far fewer of them, and they don't reveal themselves to humans much. Heck, I'm a fairy heroic spirit myself.
Come to think of it, Oberon, aren't you from...
A Midsummer Night's Dream, right? Written by William Shakespeare, England's greatest playwright, it may well be one of the most famous stories about fairies. It's basically about a love, square between humans, but two of the most important characters are Oberon, the king of the fairies, and his queen, Titania.
That was Tatiana.
No, it's Titania.
Oh.
In the story, Oberon wants Titania to give him one of her pages. Well, I always heard it pronounced as Titania, or Titania. So he hatches a plan involving a potion that will cause the drinker to fall in love with the first living thing they see upon awakening. But two humans end up taking it by mistake, causing them to forget about the person they love and mistakenly believe they're fated to be with someone else. Well, without going into too much detail, it all wraps up nicely in the end. It's the sort of comedy of errors focused on love and miscommunication you see everywhere. But unfortunately for me, it became so popular that it kept being retold for generations. Thanks to that, the word fairy is now synonymous with mischievous Puck and narrow-minded King Oberon. So, at least in one sense, I might be the most famous fairy in the world. If you've never read it before, you should give it a shot once you get back to Chaldea. It doesn't paint the most flattering picture of me, unfortunately, but never mind that. And just to be clear, I swear I wasn't trying to make trouble, okay? I'm just a plot device, really. Only there to get the romantic hijinks rolling.
So then, does that mean you're a fictional character, Oberon? Is it even possible for someone as vaguely defined as that to become a servant? I mean...
No, it isn't. While Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream is indeed how he is best known, the legends of Oberon the Fairy King have existed in Europe since ancient times. Perhaps most notably, there's a poem about him from the 15th century, well before Shakespeare's time. True. Where he is described as a king of fairies who can use magic to make any wish come true. Really? I didn't know about that one. The point is, the character was inspired by an existing model, and that model must have become the base for my servant form. Which came first? Who knows? Just another version of the chicken and the egg problem.
What about Titania then?
Oh, she's all Shakespeare. There's no legends in fairy history of anyone by that name. The name Titania, probably came from the Titans of Greek mythology. That's why it's Titania. The Oberon in A Midsummer Night's Dream is pretty self-centered after all. You could never find a lady who would tolerate him, so Shakespeare had to make one up. But I digress. Sorry for wasting your time. Imagine summoning Shakespeare here.
He was just like, hey, Shank.
Salisbury is just up ahead. Don't worry about the guards, I'll handle them. All you three have to do is stay quiet. It's okay. My face is basically a free pass into the city.
So, pretty accurate so far?
To Oberon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, he's a little stuck up. He's a little into himself.
Mm-hmm.
But he genuinely wants good things.
Yeah. I guess that's what makes him so interesting.
Oh, right. One more thing. Don't tell them something.
Your names.
Don't tell them your names. If they ask and you can't avoid answering, make something up. We don't need anyone else finding out that you're human, and you never know who might be listening. Hold on. Isn't it dangerous to lie to fairies? I've heard their eyes can see through falsehoods. If so, shouldn't we try to avoid lying wherever possible? Oh, don't worry. The fairies here don't have powers like that. I don't know if they lost them thanks to all this prosperity or if they threw them away in order to be prosperous, but either way, they definitely can't tell truth from lies anymore. The only way you can tell if you're dealing with a good person or not is when everything's said and done. How else could someone as evil as Morgan have stayed at the top of this world for so long?
So this is Salisbury. Where are the stakes?
Ah, now how this gladdens me. The air here is very different from Cornwall. There may be fairies everywhere we turn here too, but I don't sense anything dangerous about them. They all seem happy and full of good cheer. Is there some sort of festival taking place today or something?
No, this is just life in Salisbury. It's the only free city in all of Britain. There are about 200,000 people living in Salisbury, some of wind, earth, and fang fairies. Some are fairies who've remerged spontaneously from nature, and some are even independent humans. Independent humans?
Humans who have won their freedom and now belong to no one but Britain itself. I was hoping to tell you about that aspect of life here once things had settled down, but I guess it was bound to come up sooner or later. And since the Great Cathedral is here too, this seems like as place as any to get into it. You Chaldeans may have thought there were no humans in this Lostbelt, but strictly speaking, that's not true. Humans do exist here. They're just not at the top of the hierarchy. Here, they're used as tools to enrich fairy society. In proper human history terms, they're essentially slaves. Didn't you think there was something strange about this city? It's wrong, twisted, unseemly.
Now that you mention it, the idea of a fairy city seems wrong.
Exactly. Fairies are supposed to live in harmony with nature. Even when they form communities, it's always forest children or stone children gathering under the same Great Mother. They were always just the divided spirits of the planet, who never possessed a culture of their own. But as you can see, Fairy Britain has become a place where fairies imitate human society. For about 14,000 years, fairies here have raised humans like cattle. In that time, they used humans' innate creativity as entertainment, which in turn allowed them to flourish. Fairies live long lives, and they require no sustenance whatsoever. Since there's nothing they can't do, they never change, and they never try anything new. In contrast, humans have countless weaknesses. They live short lives, their injuries don't heal, they need food to survive, and they can easily be killed by wild beasts. So naturally, humans came up with all sorts of things that would allow them to survive and flourish in spite of all those weaknesses. I'm guessing the fairies found that kind of human thinking to be absolutely fascinating. It was like finding a shiny new toy. So they began keeping humans as livestock, followed by superficially copying their culture with cities like this one. They completely ignored the substance behind human agriculture, architecture, and other various fields of study, instead only imitating it at the most basic, superficial level. Anything they couldn't copy manually, they fudged with magical energy. That cathedral there is the worst offender. Fairies have no gods and no religion. There was no actual point into making the cathedral. They just thought it was fun. That's Fairy Britain's culture, and it's how they treat humans.
So basically they ripped off human culture.
Well, yes, I guess you could put it that way.
Essentially like a human hot topic.
Still, as a fairy myself, I can understand how things got to this point. While they definitely took it too far, it makes sense they get like this in a world where humans are endangered. Both in proper human history and in this Lost Belt, humans are fairies' favorite source of luxury entertainment. This land came to be known as Fairy Britain when fairies began regulating humans at a societal level. It's also the key political policy of High Queen Morgan, your enemy.
You guys are going to fight Morgan?
Yep. Or at least that's the current plan. Isn't that right, Jack?
I don't know about fighting yet, but we do need to meet this Lost Belt's king. But first we need to find my other two companions.
Oh, right, we do, don't we? First things first and all that. Why don't we start with the pub? There are always people coming and going in pubs, and some of them may know something useful.
Always start at a tavern. Artoria? Jack, you've helped me out a lot, and I really do appreciate it, but what should I do if he's going to fight High Queen Morgan? It'll only complicate things if I stuck around. I wanted to stay with him until he found Mash, but maybe things would be better if we go our separate ways here.
So that's how it is. Ahem. By the way, Artoria, do you know what they do to humans in this city they catch without their owners? They're captured as ranch escapees and sent up to New Darlington.
New Darlington? As in Darlington, the National Slaughterhouse Theater? National Slaughterhouse... Say what? That's horrible! But wait, isn't Salisbury supposed to be a free city? The head of the Wind Clan runs this place, right? Surely they wouldn't do anything so horrid.
Not necessarily. Not even the head of the Wind Clan can defy the High Queen. So it would definitely be to our advantage to have as many trusted collaborators with us as we can. Jack still doesn't know right from left here, and on top of that, he's human. Without an owner to watch over him, it'll just be the nameless woods all over again. I'd do it myself, but since I'm obviously noble, even royal, it would strain credulity if I tried to claim a human of unknown origins as one of my attendants. But you, on the other hand, would be a perfect fit for Jack. And don't worry, I'm not asking you to stay with him forever, just while we're in Salisbury. You'd prefer that over being alone too, right, Jack?
I guess you're right. Being alone in Britain these days would make you more likely to attract suspicion from the authorities. But what about Tristan? Couldn't he pretend to be Jack's owner?
He probably could, but Tristan knows just as little about Fairy Britain as Jack. It wouldn't take much questioning from one of the clan guards to expose the facade. I wouldn't go that route unless we had no other choice.
But if I had a human attendant, that would mean I would have to be an upper-class fairy. Which also makes me Jack's owner, and...
It would just be pretend. Or were you actually hoping to make him your pet?
No, I couldn't. Pretend is fine. I'm still much too young for that.
Great. Then it's settled. Jack, Artoria's going to be your owner for a while. It'll be the safest way to travel here. Think you can play along?
Don't worry, I actually have some acting experience. Okay, if you want me for this, then I'll do it. Besides, we come this far together, I certainly wouldn't mind traveling together a little more. In fact, looking on the bright side, this could actually make one of my childhood dreams come true.
Oh, what dream would that be?
The same dream every fairy who grows up in the country has, joining the ranks of the upper-class city folk.
Hey there, my good Salisburyans. How are you all this fine day? That's right, it is I, Oberon, the Fairy King of the Autumn Woods, the missionary of peace, flowers, and fairy tales, here to grace you with my boisterous presence. Hey, Oberon! Glad to see you're doing well. Nice to have you back in Salisbury again. Just make sure you don't put anything on your tab today, you hear? Oberon, I knew coming to day drink was a good idea. Oi, when you paying back the money I lent you?
I still have to thank you for the other day, Oberon. Your advice really got the trees in my backyard to settle down. I'm still waiting for you to pay me back, though. Lovely Oberon, do you have time to spare, right? You simply must attend our tea party today. I'm simply waiting for you to pay me back, though.
There's the poor little prince with the 10,000-year tab. Don't worry, I'll cover this round.
Dang, Oberon, you,
I am still waiting for you to pay me back, though. Will you all cut that out? Stop pointing out how popular I am. I'm here with some important friends today. Save the money talk for another time, alright? We know. Don't worry, we're all just joking. You've enriched our lives way more than the Queen's banknotes ever could. We're happy to treat you.
You're in debt, Oberon? So you're poor, even though you call yourself a king?
Well, yes, my financials are a little lean just now. Bluntly, I'm flat broke. But what do you expect? When I was summoned to Fairy Britain, all I had on me was this cloak. I woke up in a forest, piled high with dead leaves with literally nothing to my name. Usually, in a situation like that, I'd be too bummed to do anything but wait for help from proper human history. But since I arrived first, I knew there were things I needed to take care of. Fairies thrive on what they find interesting, so I went around putting on shows in the various cities here. I sang songs, riled up crowds, told fairy tales, entertained housewives, and livened up the nights. Over time, the people of Britain came to know me as the regal fairy king of a fief nobody's heard of.
Fief?
Fiefdom. Like a small kingdom. Well, at least in the major cities, anyway.
Oh, I didn't know about you because I'm from the countryside.
Sorry about that. I'll try to branch out more from now on. Still, this was a hard-fought battle in its own right. Can you imagine what it was like for me to have to act like nobility without any actual capital? I can. I can recall a few dozen times I lied about my station so I could sing love songs to a beautiful woman I met at a tavern. And indeed, there is nothing quite so exciting, tense, as that. As a fellow poet, Oberon, I have the greatest respect for what you've accomplished here. I don't suppose you'd be willing to give me a few in-depth lessons on how to roll fairy style, would you? If you'd really like to learn from me, I'd be glad to teach you what I know. Besides, with your music backing me up, I better be able to expand my clientele even more.
Now I see you're both scoundrels who can't be trusted around women. Anyway, where should we sit, Oberon?
My favorite table is the round one in the back, on the raised floor. It's harder for other customers to see you there, and it gives you a full view of the whole pub. Now, how about we start with a toast of fruit water? Excuse me, cutie, are you the new server? Let the owner know we'll be using the table in the back, okay? Oh, and we'd also like to order 4 apple waters. Ha!
You got it! I'll have them ready in just a moment. Huh? Huh? Da Vinci? Whoa, no way! Jack, it's really you!
Well, that was easy.
Yep. Could we get that as a Speartron dress?
Probably.
Maybe.
We already have multiple maids.
Yeah. Oh man, you'll never believe what happened to me! So after we got separated in the fog, I let my instincts lead me, and that's what brought me right back to the beach. Luckily, that beach wasn't far enough away from the foggy woods. I was able to follow the coastline east. Eventually, I caught sights of Salisbury here, and I figured I ought to be able to learn more in the populated city. Then, when I got here,
an angel far too good for this world just appeared on my pub's doorstep. She was very unsteady on her feet, but I could still see the fire in her deep blue eyes when she said, What a lovely place. Would you let me work here for the rest of my life?
I never said that. What I said was, I'm looking for my companions, but first, could I have a glass of water, remember?
Well, if you ever change your mind, you just let me know. You're welcome to work here forever.
Yes, I heard you the first 100 times, Mike. Now go back behind the counter. I'll teach you to make cocktails later.
Ah, Da Vinci. My perfect angel.
Da Vinci. Anyway, that's my story. I'm glad you're okay, Jack. You too, Tristan. Although it looks like you still haven't found MASH yet.
I see. You must be the other servant Jack told us about. It's an honor to meet a renowned genius like yourself, Leonardo da Vinci.
Who are you? I'm guessing the fact that you know my name means you're a servant from proper human history?
I'm Oberon. Oberon the Fairy King. Though I guess here it's more of an aspirational title.
It's nice to meet you, Da Vinci. I'm Altoria Castor. I met Jack in the nameless woods. To make a long story short, I'm going to be around with Jack pretending to be his owner. Seriously, that's hilarious. Thanks, Artoria. That must be a huge weight off of Jack's shoulders. But hey, you're a British fairy too, right? You probably got some idea of what it is we're doing here by now. But you're here helping Jack, so does that mean you're good with it? Well, more or less. Honestly, I didn't really get even half of what Jack and Oberon told me. But I do know that Jack was telling the truth. I wouldn't feel right about abandoning someone in trouble when it's within my ability to help them, and honestly, it seems kind of like fun. Gotcha. Well, it should be okay to speak frankly here. So, how'd you end up here, Jack? Wow, sounds like you guys had a hell of a time in that forest. I'm glad you made it out there okay. Thanks for keeping him safe, Tristan. You too, Oberon, Castoria. So, while we still don't know much about Britain, we have no idea where MASH is. But we do know that she's still alive, and Oberon is flat broke. Okay, now that we're all on the same page, we can figure out what to do next. You made the right call, Oberon. We shouldn't be wandering aimlessly around Britain right now. What we need to do is set up a base of operations here in Salisbury where we can gather information and tackle our problems one at a time. Our top priority right now is finding MASH, so we'll need to look out for info on a girl wearing iron armor. While we do that, we should also learn more about Britain and the lives of the fairies who live in it. What do you have in mind for a base? Do you have a place of your own here? I sure do. This pub doubles as an inn. Well, technically they just copied a man-made inn without knowing what it was for. So I taught Mike about inns and how to put all the extra rooms in here he got here for good use. And as a little reward for my services, I even got 3 of the second floor rooms for myself. I knew we'd eventually find each other, and we'd need a Chaldea frontline base when we did. So that's why I went ahead and made one.
Wow, I'm impressed, Da Vinci. And I know Lancelot would be especially blown away by what you've done here.
Is this Lancelot person also a young girl? In one sense, you're not wrong.
This is great. I can already tell this Da Vinci friend of yours will be a huge help. Alright, since it seems like you guys have things well in hand now, I think I'll take my leave. I've actually got a lot of other things I still have to do. You're going off on your own, Oberon. Yep, I'm going to see what I can find out about this MASH girl. Not to mention we also need more information about Britain as a whole. Now that you Chaldeans have come here, things are definitely going to change. And since we still don't have many allies on our side yet, I want to make sure we know where things stand in every region.
But we'll see you again soon, right?
Of course, especially now that I know where I can find you all. Don't worry, the next time you see me, I'll have good news. In the meantime, I suggest you all get acclimated to Britain sooner than later. You didn't even have an apple water.
Well, damn, he sure didn't waste any time. I'm glad he's on our side, but he definitely dances to the beat of his own drum, doesn't he?
Indeed, and that colorful outfit of his speaks to me. It tells me he is, without a doubt, the same kind of poet as me. Ah, how this gladdens me.
So what should we do now? I could show you around Salisbury if you like. Thanks, but I think we should take the rest of the day off. You all walked a long way to get here, after all. It's only about an hour. Please, go ahead and make yourselves comfy in the rooms I mentioned. Jack, you take a room for yourself. Trish and I will share another. And Artoria, you can use one room I set aside for Mash. I knew I was right for not settling for just 2 rooms. Oh, I also put some for Magecraft barriers in the rooms, so we won't have to worry about being overheard. I recognize that a Da Vinci wink. Really? I'll have a whole room to myself for free? Hooray! I always wanted my own room. I can't wait to get all comfy. Thank you, Da Vinci. Gosh, you proper human history fairies are all so generous. This is great. Now she's gone too. I knew I didn't touch on this before, but she's pretty different from the Artoria we know, doesn't she?
Yes, she is. From what I've seen so far, we should consider her an entirely separate person from King Arthur, Artoria Pendragon, the King of Britain in proper human history.
Yep, this is one more thing I'd like to discuss up in a room, if you don't mind taking this there. It's better if we discuss proper human history stuff just among ourselves. We really can't be too careful here. Alright, let's begin by sharing what we learned starting with this version of Britain. You probably got a sense of yourselves on your way to Salisbury, but this Lostbelt is very different from all the others that we've seen so far. It doesn't look at all like an alternate path human history could have taken, especially since humans aren't the dominant species here. So far, from what I can tell, this world consists almost entirely of fairies. In Russia, a huge cold snap made it impossible for the human species to survive, as it were, so they were forced to adapt and evolve into furries. In Scandinavia, the twilight of the gods, aka Ragnarok, happened during the Age of Gods, and both gods and people alike were in sharp decline afterwards. China was ruled by a single Zenren, or true human, and became the sole nation-state of the entire world. India was converging in and on itself through endless cycles of reincarnation, only for the whole world instead of individual people. And in Greece, humankind was completely dominated by gods and never died out. While all of them were dead ends, they were still all human worlds. No matter how different they may have been for our timeline, they still all held human societies that suited their environment in the year 2019. But that's not the case here. This is very much not a human world. For one thing, there is no world outside of Britain. It's not like the other Lost Belts where we couldn't see the outside world thanks to the storm walls. But there's nothing in the world at all besides Britain. No other continents, definitely no other nations. So as long as we're here, the whole planet consists of nothing but the Isle of Britain and the sea. And that means it's basically another world with no relation to human history. Yep, given what we know now, it's the only way to describe it. Other than, over the last few days, I've been asking various fairies about what other things like between Britain and other countries, and the very idea about the countries was alien to them. That tells me there must be some kind of strange circumstance that caused this place to become Fairy Britain. Figuring out what that is will be the key to unraveling this Lost Belt.
Hold on. If there aren't any other European countries here, does that mean every fairy in this land comes solely from the Isle of Britain?
That's a good question, Tristan. If there are no other lands in this world, it follows that no fairy legends from those places would be imported here. But luckily, there's still a cute little thing called human history convergence. What does that mean? Is that as long as their fairies once existed on Earth, their existence will remain even in their form and history are different. So even if this is Fairy Britain, we have fairies from various European legends showing up in different forms. Basically, the ecosystems are similar, even if the environments aren't. Especially since this is still the same planet Earth, there are inevitably going to be similar life forms, civilizations, and large-scale events.
Similar life forms, huh?
Yep, Fairy Britain may be nothing like the Britain we know, but despite that, the two Britons have a surprisingly number of things in common. Things like city names, fairy names, even the names of the world's queen. Remember that huge castle to the north you saw on the way here? It belongs to High Queen Morgan, ruler of Fairy Britain. and it probably wouldn't surprise you to learn that its name is Camelot. That right there, the same castle that symbolized British peace and proper human history. That was the home to King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Belonged to Morgan, the strongest, most despised witch in British history, and the one indirectly responsible for King Arthur's death and Britain's downfall. I'm gonna use the restroom right quick. Yeah, so essentially, even though this is radically different timeline, certain things are still the same. Still a Camelot, still a Morgan, still a bunch of stuff. Morgan the Witch, huh? Yep, as far as I've been able to figure out, the Morgan ruled Fairy Britain for almost 2,000 years. There are still six different fairy clans here: Earth, Wind, Fire, Fang, Mirror, and Wing, and one other. They waged war with each other constantly for thousands of years. Until Morgan used evil magecraft to defeat them, subjugated half of the clans through force, and united all of Britain. Afterwards, she gave the humans of this world a limited degree of freedom, made them build a foundation for civilization, and developed this limited imitation society over the course of the last 2,000 years.
Morgan. So even in this Lostbelt, she's still trying to. But no, I suppose I shouldn't say that. I'm sure this Morgan is a different person from the one we know. So what exactly is her reign like? Since she calls her castle Camelot, does that mean it's fair and just, in a way King Arthur would be proud of?
No, it's pretty horrible. She has strict limits on the number of humans that can be born each year, and rules the fairies with an iron fist. Every fairy that lives in the urban area is inscribed with Morgan's curse, command spells, as part of their civic duty. What? In the urban area, inscribed with Morgan's curse. Huh.
Branded with command spells.
And every year, fairies inscribed with these command spells are forced to donate some of their vitality, magical energy, essentially. They call it their existence tax. And any fairy who doesn't pay it, essentially who can't provide enough magical energy to satisfy Morgan, are killed right then and there. Apparently, when she first took the throne, Morgan told the fairies, "I offer neither absolution nor salvation. I demand only that you obey without question or hesitation. Show me your fealty in word and action, and I shall keep Britain safe." Any fairy who can't handle that state of affairs and becomes unable to work are either taken into Camelot and dealt with there, or they escape the cities and run away to the lands no one else knows about. So that's why those fairies were there.
Such an oppressive regime is bound to spark opposition. But even so, Morgan has maintained her iron grip on Britain for 2,000 years.
Yep, which goes to show how powerful she must be. She takes half of the souls of every fairy in Britain each year, and there's still no fairies able to willing to stand up to her. That said, there are some positive sides to Morgan's reign. Remember those black things we fought near the shore? The fairies called them Moors, and they're one of the calamities that have been plaguing Fairy Britain since its inception. Occasionally, fairies that lose their purpose or their spark end up turning into these Moors creatures. Moors are essentially the fairies' natural predators. Just touching one is enough to infect a fairy, ultimately transforming them into a Moors too. It's kind of like a disease that can only affect fairies. And the Moors aren't the only calamity Britain has to regularly contend with. There are lots of others that pop up on a regular basis. And Morgan's, the High Queen's army, is consistently fending them off. Morgan may be a cold, ruthless ruler, but she's also the sword that keeps Britain safe. The fairies may fear and hate her, but they also depend on her. And that's the current state of affairs in Fairy Britain. Sounds like Morgan's definitely this Lostbelt's king then. Yep, that seems to be the very safe assumption, which means she also has to be the one who used Rongaminiad. That spell was so powerful it reached Olympus from here. No one else could have cast it. Although, of course, that unfortunately also means Beryl Gut is involved with Morgan somehow. So I'd say that makes our chances of peaceful negotiations with her nil.
I see. Then we have our own reasons for defeating her.
Yep, though we might have a harder time getting into Camelot, since apparently no one can enter it without her permission. That said, even Morgan's reign isn't perfect. In fact, there's new hope going around Britain right now. As luck would have it, we showed up here at the exact right time, just as things are about to change. What's this new hope? A child of prophecy. Specifically, a child whose existence was prophesied by the head of the now extinct Mir clan right before they disappeared. From what I heard, it went something like this. 16 years from now, a savior shall appear. Guided by the staff of selection, the true king will take the throne. Then when the 6 bells ring out, the false queen will fall alongside Fae and humans. The savior will bring an end to this false history. So what do you think? Sounds vaguely familiar, right? It's got credibility out the wazoo too, since the Mir clan prophecies have never once been wrong. The High Queen's been trying to prevent this inevitable by rounding up every fairy who turned 16 this year. But the fact is that this child of prophecy hunt is still going on proves that she still hasn't caught them. Suffice to say, between the Moors and the child of prophecy alone, that crack shows how the High Queen reigned. So if we play our cards right, we might be able to negotiate with Morgan after all. That said, fighting a match definitely comes first. For the time being, you should rest up and recover your strength. Then tomorrow we can start gathering information quietly and casually, of course, as not to arouse suspicion. Oh man, it feels like forever since I lay down on a soft bed. British Lostbelt, High Queen Morgan. Artoria, Oberon. Mash, wherever you are, please be safe. Okay, I think we can use some rest too. Servants may not need to sleep, but it's still tiring to be consistently watching out for threats, right? I mean, you never took off your fingers off your bowstrings every once this entire time. Guess that's why you were the Knight of the Round Table, huh?
Just your noticing that suggests I must need rest as well. But not just yet. But please, don't refrain from resting on my account, Da Vinci. You may be a servant too, but you're also a being living in the here and now, just like Jack. So go on, get some sleep. Don't worry, it's my duty to protect you as well as him.
Gotcha. I guess I should have expected that kind of consideration for Tristan, the Child of Sadness, and the most handsome Knight of the Round Table. Okay, then I think I'll take you up on that. Honestly, I was pretty beat.
By all means. But first, I have just one request for you. I don't want to take too much of your time, but before you fall asleep, I was hoping you could tell me about the sixth singularity. Specifically, I would like to hear about the version of me who was summoned there, and what I was doing in the holy city of Camelot.
Oh.
Wasn't he just kind of a cold assassin-like personality there?
Yeah. He was basically ruthless.
Let me see what he was working on.
All good?
Yep.
Whoa, dear.
Yep.
Good morning, everyone. Gosh, that bed was so comfortable. Glad to hear it. That makes all the trouble I went through to get the mattress just right worth it. Fairy beds are just imitations of the real beds, so the mattress might as well have been boulders before I adjusted them.
I'm here as well. If you like, I'd be happy to play a song to help you all wake up.
Morning, everyone.
You're going out, Da Vinci. So you're not going to wait tables with your beautiful roller skating today?
Sorry, I'm off to do some sightseeing, but don't worry, I'll hop out in the afternoon.
Oh, right. That was our deal, wasn't it? Hey, you there. I don't know which clan you're from, but you'd better not tire Da Vinci out, you hear?
I'm from the Kaldea clan.
You may not have heard of us.
We have jackets. What's up, Jack? Something on your mind? I was just wondering what's up with the sky.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that. I was surprised about that at first, too. The weather here never changes. It's got one sky pattern for day and one for night, and that's it. It does supposedly rain here sometimes, but apparently that's just always cloudy there. No blue skies. Huh? Blue skies? Your Britain skies turn blue sometimes?
Oh, yes. When there are no clouds in the sky, it becomes a beautiful shade of blue as far as the eye can see. Though that's not to say these skies aren't beautiful in their own right.
So the same color as bluebells, then? That's what your skies look like? Wow. Then your world must be very bright and beautiful. The kind of place where everyone always smiles and helps one another, no matter how hard life gets. Anyway, shall we start gathering information then? Oh, and I need to pretend to be Jack's owner, right? Oh, I may as well try to act like a big shot and go around one of those restaurants I've heard so much about. Did you know they won't even let you in a Woodwose without an attendant? Hey, as long as there's a lot of fairies there, I'm good wherever with whatever. Okay, let's get out the place while we pretend to just be taking a walk. We'll also be wanting to keep our eyes peeled for any juicy rumors and talk to people ourselves at times. I hunger for your hunger.
Have I heard anything about a fairy in iron armor? What, you guys interested in joining the High Queen's army? Don't bother. Nothing good will come from joining them now. This is the year Ainsel prophesied about, remember? The Child of Prophecy will appear this year and bring salvation to all. Who knows? Maybe the High Queen will finally cut us a break in our taxes if she actually takes a few licks for once. Huh? You're not looking to join? You're looking for a lost companion? Afraid we can't help you then. Iron armor. You won't find anything like that here. You'll have to go to Norwich for iron. They ought to still be making those silly weapons up there, at least if Spriggan hasn't shut down the mine. What kind of weapons, you say? What else? Swords, spears, bows, axes, you know, the usual. I swear, I never thought I'd see the day fairies would use iron weapons of all things. What could the High Queen be thinking? Still, at least the Child of Prophecy should do something about all of that. We just gotta be patient a little longer.
Hey, have you guys heard about the latest about the Calamity Pool in Norwich? They say Norwich's sky is pitch black now, even during daytime. There's no way they're going to last much longer there, not with such calamity present. I mean, between all the iron, soot, noise, and humans there have no one to blame but themselves. But even so, I just can't help but worry. I mean, what are they going to do if Norwich refugees decide to come here to Salisbury? We have so much history here, and you've got too many Earth Clan fairies as it is. But Lady Aurora is so kind, I can't imagine her turning them away.
You're looking for something? Are you searching just in Salisbury or all of Britain? If it's all of Britain, those fairies here aren't going to be much help. It's so nice here in Salisbury that nobody ever wants to leave. If you want to know what's going on in the other cities, you'll just have to visit them yourself. Oh, but you don't have wings, do you? Well, that rules that out then. If the Moors get you, it's all over. Anyway, I wonder what tonight's festival's going to be about. I hope it's another play about the Child of Prophecy and the Evil Witch. I love the part where the High Queen and her dog knight finally get what's coming to them.
Ugh. Well, that was disappointing. I mean, I really wasn't expecting much to find a solid lead in just one day. But all anyone wanted to talk about was the Child of Prophecy. They barely even listened to what we had to say.
Indeed. That last fairy even tried to get us to buy some questionable Child of Prophecy merchandise.
Joke's on you, already have a Castoria figure.
I haven't seen a whole city so feverishly excited about something other than Christmas. The Child of Prophecy craze, Sounds like there's a lot of money to be made there.
I wonder who this Child of Prophecy could be anyway. I mean, we already kind of know. Yeah, the only thing here these fairies wanted to talk about besides the Child of Prophecy were the rumors going around Norwich, the eastern port town. Let's see. I gotta say, this made me really curious about the Child of Prophecy too. I wonder what kind of fairy they are. If they really are planning to fight Morgan like the prophecy says, maybe we can convince them to help us. What do you think? Should we try looking for this Child of Prophecy as well as Mash? Any fairy who can get other fairies so excited must be incredibly strong and brave.
Good day, everyone. I'm back once again. Oh, not as many customers today, I see.
It's Oberon.
Hey there! Having a little lunch after your morning walk around the city, huh? Anyway, it looks like you're all having fun. Hope you don't mind if I join you. I'm a passable fighter at best, but I'm a master of killing with compliments. Much more peaceful that way. Here, I'll show you. Before long, I'll be heaping so much praise on Autoria, she'll be begging me for mercy.
Castoria? Why?
Huh? You mean you haven't told them yet, Artoria? The child of prophecy everyone's on about? That's her. I just assumed you knew, since she's got King Arthur's name and all. Glad to see that Oberon has the brain cell.
Yep. I mean, yeah, the thought did cross my mind once I heard about that your name was Artoria. But still, you? Artoria? Really? I mean, let's be real, you have less magical energy than most fairies, right? You might as well be better. You might have better magical surges than a human, well, since you're a fairy, but I guess they'd be Age of Gods patterns? Anyway, they're still below average for a fairy. Hell, even Mike there must be stronger than you. So how can you be the child of prophecy meant to defeat the High Queen? Mood. I know you're right. It doesn't make sense, does it? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know it's not right that someone like me is carrying around the staff of selection. Still, it's not like we know for certain that I'm the child of prophecy. There's still a chance I might not be. Besides, I don't really have the guts to fight the High Queen, or the drive, or the determination. I don't belong to any of the clans either, and I have so little magical energy that I have to fudge with it with magecraft. I can't even get close to the bells I'm supposed to ring. I mean, I do plan to do the best I can despite of all that, but let's just say it's a very uphill battle. Honestly, I don't know why I was chosen. You don't think you can do this, Artoria? I don't know. All I can say is that if I really am the child of prophecy, there must be some way for me to fight. So that's why it's why I was born and how I was raised. Oh, and who am I kidding? I'm completely hopeless. The last time I came to Salisbury was to meet with the head of the Wind Clan. But I ended up deciding to try the Manchester next because nobody here would even give me the time of day. I see, so that's why you didn't say anything sooner. Fairies can't sense how much magic energy you've got at a glance, so I'm sure they only laughed at you when you told them that you were the child of prophecy. I bet they also yelled at you and told you not to lie. They did, so I thought I'd try to convince the head of the clan who I was. But they just turned me away at the gate.
The head of the Wind Clan, huh? That'd be Aurora. Personally, I think you're pretty great as you are now, but I can see why you'd feel you need a boost to your... Well, if that's the only problem, I can take care of it right now. What do you mean by that, Oberon? I mean, I can get you a meeting with Aurora if you want. There, see how easily we got in? Take a look. This is the heart of Salisbury, the home of its great bell. Ace Cathedral, the oldest and largest building in all of Fairy Britain. Now then, Aurora's room is on the top floor, so let's say we start heading up. I've already sent word of our arrival, so we shouldn't have any trouble with the hang on.
Good day, King of the Autumn Woods. Your visit is sudden and unexpected, but we welcome you all the same. However, it seems I must remind you that this cathedral is the holy ground where kings and knights are made. The esteemed site of High Queen Morgan's coronation 2,000 years ago. As such, regardless of how much affection Lady Aurora may have for you, I cannot allow such a lowly creatures as humans to enter, attendants or not. Guards, to me, capture these unidentified fairies in that disgusting human. If the human submits, very well. However, should he attempt to resist or flee, dispose of him. That goes for Ron too, of course. You needn't show him any leniency. We received complaints about him from pubs across the city demand that he pay his tabs.
My! This isn't how I expected things to go.
Oberon!
If those are your orders, Lady Coral, then we'll gladly comply, but are you sure about this? Lady Aurora told us to let him through right away. She seemed thrilled about his visit.
Don't you talk back to me. You may have been chosen to be guards, but you're still mere humans. Know your place. Unless, of course, you'd rather I turn you into rabbits so you don't have to be human anymore.
Nobody. I'm very sorry about this, Lord Oberon. It really is nothing personal. We're just doing our jobs. It seems we have no choice but to do battle, even though their hearts clearly aren't in it. Come, Jack. Let's show them how strong we truly are.
So, alright, Astoria, and then let's use an archer. Let's see. Oh, okay.
I mean, it's thematically fitting.
Yeah. Could've got too, but oh well. Because you definitely want to release it too. This kind of thing would be happening in the Han's Grand Cathedral.
You see that, Coral? You see what Jack and I are capable of? This is what happens when you look down on people for being human or having no money.
Probably not a good time to point out that Oberon was just standing behind them cheering. Very well, it would seem that humans need not your typical expendable worker. And Lady Aurora does love rare and unusual things. It was part of what makes her so strong. Alright, just once I'll grant you an audience with her. Don't let this go to your head. Rare and unusual things are the only interesting the first time you see them. Once the novelty wears off, they become worthless. If I were you, I would try to make the most of this good fortune, as you won't have many other such chances as in the future.
What's wrong with your face?
It's got a bad case of actually an alpha bitch. That's the vibe I'm getting from her.
Hello, Oberon. What delightful story do you have for me today? You know so very many things, so I'm sure it must be something special. Whatever it is, I can't wait to hear it. I could use some cheer after all this unfortunate news recently.
I didn't think it was possible to go blind from sheer specter until today.
Why, yes! I have two things for you today. One is something you absolutely must know. The other is a request for a small favor. But don't worry, I won't take up much of your time at all. That said, could I first make a somewhat selfish request? You'd see, I'd like to keep what I'm about to tell you just between us. You don't mind keeping secrets, right? Oh my, you're a naughty one, aren't you? I don't usually care for scary stories. But a little thrill does sound like fun. Would you give us some privacy, Coral?
Lady Aurora.
It's all right. I know we can trust them, so it's only right I answer in kind.
As you wish, but please don't hesitate to call me if you should change your mind.
You'll have to forgive Coral. She's a very proud girl, and she can be quite inflexible. She probably gave you a very harsh welcome again, didn't she? I'm just glad to see you're not hurt. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, friends of Oberon. I am Aurora, head of the Wind Clan and Lord of Salisbury. Now, what did you come to tell me today?
Well, I guess it's no surprise that the whole mood just changed in here. Figures that she didn't become the head of the clan through sheer beauty alone. So the thing is, we're having trouble finding a companion of ours.
Oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my. How many years has it been since a human spoke so frankly to me? Oh, how delightfully different. Tell me, what's your name? Are you a free citizen? What kind of pedigree do you... Ah. I'm so sorry. You already serve this fine young fairy, don't you? Oh goodness, how rude of me. Really, Aurora? You must do something about your tendency to take in every stray human you find. Otherwise, you'll eventually have every human in Britain living in Salisbury. And I'm sure you don't need any more resistance from your fellow clan members, seeing how you're the only one who favors coexistence. Yes, I know. You're right, of course. But when I saw those big puppy eyes of his begging me for help, I just couldn't resist. Good grief. Yari yari does it. Well, this is exactly why I brought him. Remember what I told you before about Chaldea and the other world called proper human history? Well, this boy here is the master of Chaldea, and the two people behind him are servants, not fairies.
Oberon?
Don't worry, it's okay. Aurora here may be from Fairy Britain, but she thinks a lot like the fairies of proper human history. And while she'd never come out and say it, she's not happy with the state of things in Britain either, right? It's been 2,000 years now since Britain fell into Morgan's hands. And you've been here, watching it unfold every step of the way. You think it's time for Morgan's reign to end, regardless of what form that end takes. I remember how your eyes sparkled with hope when I told you about the outside world. Jack here has come to Britain solely to defeat Morgan. He's not even thinking about what happens afterwards. Suffice to say, he also has no intention of ruling in Morgan's place once she's gone. Once the Chaldeans leave, whether Britain lives or dies will be for you and your fellow fairies to decide. Chaldea is definitely not going to care if you try to save what's left of it. They'll gladly stay out of your way. Morgan is their only concern, nothing more. So it would seem. Well, that girl in the back doesn't seem very happy that you're telling me this. This boy here isn't denying anything you say. So your travelers from another world, a Britain that went down the right path. It's still hard to believe, but maybe this too is Einzel's guidance at work. Either way, one thing is clear. Since we both have our own troubles, it's only right that we help one another. Jack, was it? You have my permission to act in Salisbury however you see fit, even if your actions should be in opposition to the land of the Fae. If you're looking for a lost companion, then I'll lend you the eyes of my fellow wind fairies in the other cities. I can't contact my compatriots in Norwich at the moment, but I will have my wind fairies in Oxford, Gloucester, New Darlington, and Camelot help you in your search. You need only tell Coral what your companion looks like. I just hope my clan can be of assistance.
Oh wow, thank you so much.
All that said, I'd still like to keep this relationship of ours on the down low for the time being. After all, you are the head of a clan. If Morgan finds out you've sided with Chaldea in proper human history, she may have all the Wind Clan fairies killed. So this collaboration should be kept quiet, so we can deny knowing anything about each other in case things come to that.
All the wind fairies dead, so not even you could defeat High Queen Morgan if you face her directly?
No, I couldn't. She could wipe us all out with one flick of her finger.
I see, gosh, she really is something, isn't she?
Oh yes, she's a very special fairy. The only one who could hope to defeat her is the Child of Prophecy from Einzel's last prediction. It's too bad this child has yet to reveal himself. I can only hope they come save us as soon as possible.
He's gonna do it. He's really gonna do it.
How right you are, Aurora! I may very well be about to make your day. There's someone I'd like you to meet.
What are you doing, Oberon? Please stop, stop!
That's right, Artoria here is none other than the Star of Hope who hails from Tintagel. Born alongside the Staff of Selection that will bring Morgan to justice, she's the one, the only Child of Prophecy. Go on now, don't be shy.
Oberon?
You do have some delightful friends, Oberon. I'd love to be tackled to the ground like that myself sometime. Lewd! Why, thank you. I can't say I expected such a direct method of silencing me either. Still, Artoria would never say anything if I hadn't put her on the spot like that. She's kind of a late bloomer, you see, and she's still not confident about being the Child of Prophecy.
I could see why now, why she kind of mistaken Oberon for Merlin.
Mm-hmm.
That would so be a Merlin thing to do.
Mm-hmm. So we were hoping you might be able to offer her your seal of approval. Say, for example...
Maybe she could ring one of the bells she mentioned in the prophecy?
Wow! Even I wouldn't have come up with that. Impressive. No, that I'm afraid I cannot allow. While there is indeed a bell said to be the voice of the Wind Clan right above this room, I can only let her ring it once she has proven herself to me. Words alone will not suffice. She will need to demonstrate her abilities so there can be no question. You said your name was Artoria, yes? And it seems you do indeed have the Staff of Selection. I still don't understand what the Staff of Selection truly signifies. The only one who does is Ainsel, the head of the Mirror Clan, and no one has seen any member of the Mirror Clan for years. All I can do is see for myself whether you have the makings of a king. And how exactly do you propose to do that? Oh my, what a lovely voice. In here I thought you may be mute. Very well then, out of respect for those dulcet tones, I'll tell you my conditions. Altoria, Jack, I would like you two to show me that there is still hope for our world. So here is my test to see if Britain can still be changed. As you know, we fairies are plagued by a dark fate. Every 100 years a calamity befalls us, a curse that not even Morgan herself has been able to dispel. For the last few months there has been a powerful Moor's current winding its way through Norwich, a calamity pool. If you two can rid Norwich of this calamity, then I will gladly give you access to Salisbury's Bell.
So we have to head for Norwich.
It is very much a fairy tale method of storytelling. Straight up, the king giving a quest to have them prove their worthiness.
Yep.
So she wants us to get rid of the calamity in Norwich, huh? I didn't think she'd be the one to bring it up.
What is the calamity in Norwich?
I don't know much about these calamities either, since I've never seen one for myself. But I have heard plenty of stories. Apparently, they're kind of a natural disaster that falls Fairy Britain every 100 years.
I've heard about these calamities too, and I've also already told Jack about them. Norwich is a port city in eastern Britain, and apparently it's been showing signs that it'll be the home of the next calamity for a few months now. You say there's a ton of black soot rising into the air that gathers above like rain clouds.
Aurora said she'd permit us to ring the bell as long as we could resolve this calamity, right?
So we need to disperse these clouds of soot, huh? Unfortunately, I never learned any magecraft that I could do that.
Well, that's okay. Norwich is tall enough order that I think we can forget about it for the time being. Right now, our top priority is finding MASH. And now that Aurora is helping us do that, we should receive some word of her whereabouts in a few days. So all you guys need to do is wait at the inn until then. Then again, doing nothing might not be the best use of our time, huh? Okay, I'll send you a list of things you can do to earn money and gather information later then.
Are you going off on your own again?
Well, you know, I thought about what Coral said, and I probably should see about paying my tabs before I start racking up more. Okay, that's all for now. I'll see you all again in 3 days. There. That should get them to rest up in Salisbury at least a little more. Meanwhile, I've got my work cut out for me. First, I'll need to go find out what's going on in Norwich.
Blanca.
Ah, welcome back, Blanca. How's the situation up north? How far of, let me get my Irish pronunciation here. How far of Nana Riabs? No, that'd be... Nok Narib. Yeah, how far have Nok Narib's forces advanced? Huh? Another child of prophecy have shown up there? I definitely wasn't expecting that. Ainsel didn't say anything about there being 2 of them in her prophecy. This puts Artoria in an even more precarious position. I thought I'd have more time. Yes, of course Artoria is the real child of prophecy. That much was never in doubt. But it won't matter who the real one is. What matters is will be who the fairies believe is the real one. Still, it's not all bad. Let's focus on the silver lining here. A false child of prophecy in the north is bound to draw Morgan's attention. Which means Artoria and Jack should be safe for now. That'll give me time to ensure they grow stronger. They're not ready for Norwich. need to experience Britain for themselves, and to gain the power to adapt and to conquer its challenges. Do we really have time for that, you say? You're a tough crowd, aren't you, Blanca? But you have to take your time with the opening act. That's how it was for us at first, too, remember?
Something wrong? Oh no, I'm fine. I'm just nervous since I'm not used to speaking with the head of an entire clan. Sorry, I've got a lot on my mind. I think I'm just gonna turn in for the night. Let's meet up again tomorrow morning, okay? Bye for now. Looks like we'll have to readjust our perception of her too. Come on, Jack, Tristan. Let's head back to our room. We should talk about our next moves while it's still safe to do so. Okay, that's everything that's happened so far in the nice tiny report. It's all yours now. Tifone, take it away, my little familiar.
Tifone? Yeah, that's Italian.
There, that should take care of our reports on to the storm border. We should hear back from them in about 2 days. Now let's go over everything we've learned so far. That's it, our main topic isn't Morgan, but the child of
the child of prophecy who's supposedly going to defeat her, right?
Yep, the truth is we've been dropping our guard around her a little too much. At first we thought it was just a coincidence that she shared a name with King Arthur and didn't think about it any further. We can now see for certain that she is this Lostbelt's King Arthur. I'm sure I didn't need to remind you two that Chaldea already confirmed the legends about King Arthur in the Sixth Singularity. But I still think it's worth our time to quickly refresh our memories of those legends, just so that they were all on the same page. The legend of King Arthur takes place in the 5th century, a time when Britain was in great turmoil. It began with the collapse of the Continental Empire, with the empire no longer keeping Britain safe. It came under frequent attacks by the Saxons, a foreign enemy who crossed the seas to attack British shores. At the time, Britain was an island nation ruled by many different clans and those clans' kings. While there was always constant squabbles between the clans, there was also war with the Pikes up in the north, where the clans' kings agreed to work together. But one king created an irreparable rift in this alliance. He used the other clans for his own ends and the goal of ultimately uniting all of Britain. His name was Vortigern. He was said to be the avatar of the White Dragon born from Britain itself, made to bring it to ruin. Vortigern invited the Saxons to the Isles, throwing it into chaos. Londinium, the fortress city that served as the heart of Britain during the Empire's reign, was destroyed. Vortigern was then defeated and killed Uther Pendragon, the greatest king in all of Britain. And so Britain entered a dark age, a time where none of the islands could escape its immediate destruction. However, hope still remained. King Uther's most trusted aide, Merlin, the great mage who had long kept Britain safe, told people that this too was part of the prophecy. King Uther was already chosen his successor. They shall be the next king. Whoever draws the sword of selection from this stone shall be Britain's king. Many knights tried their hand at drawing the sword, but none of them succeeded. It was only once the knights had all left, convinced that the sword of selection was no more than a delusion, that a young squire of 15, a boy who had been raised without ever knowing he was King Uther's son, came and drew the sword from the stone with no one there to bear witness. That sword was Caliburn. And that boy did indeed go on to become the King of Britain. Arthur Pendragon, a knight among knights, or as we know her, Artoria Pendragon. After announcing himself as King Uther's successor, King Arthur assembled the lords of Britain and led them to 12 magnificent victories against the Saxons. And in doing so, he proved himself to be an invincible king, the undefeated king of knights. But unbeknownst to him, the Saxons weren't the only enemy. The greatest threat from the King of Knights faced came within his own family. Vortigern, the avatar of the White Dragon who defeated King Arthur's father Uther and brought Britain to its knees. Morgan, the fairy queen who declared it it was Britain's very will that she become its ruler. Morgan's amalgamation succeeded in robbing the King of Knights of Calburn, but the fairies gave him an even greater sword. That sword was Excalibur, the sacred sword forged within the planet's inner sea. It was the world of magecraft. It was considered a divine construct, an ultimate weapon meant to destroy that which threatens the world. In laying claim to the sacred sword, King Arthur became Britain's savior in both name and deed. After a climactic battle warding rid of the ruins of Londinium, King Arthur, with the help of the fairies, built the towering White Castle of Camelot. Lords from all across the Isles came to Camelot to serve the King of Knights. They became the Knights of the Round Table, and with all treated as equals. It was a bit odd telling the story to Tristan. It's a bit odd telling the story to Tristan here, but this is how the Knights of the Round Table were formed. Lancelot, the knight from France, blessed by the Lady of the Lake. Gawain, the heir of Orkney, blessed by the sun. Tristan, nephew to the Duke of Cornwall and the Prince of Tragedy. You are also said to be the symbol of the romantic period.
That's right. Those are the proud knights of the Round Table. My cherished friends who filled its 13 seats: sturdy Percival, clever Kay, loyal Bedivere, earnest Gaheris, kind-hearted Gareth, Agravain the Enforcer, Palamedes the Duelist, taciturn Mordred, and the greatest knight of all, chosen by the Holy Grail, Galahad the Revelation. In addition to King Arthur, the first seat, you could also count King Pellinore, King Arthur's trusted advisor, and Bors, the future 11th seat, for 15 in total. At any rate, those are the Knights of the Round Table I knew when they were at their peak.
Yeah, the Knights of the Round Table peak is also the happiest time in the legend of King Arthur. While other problems would present themselves in the quest for the Holy Grail and in the decisive battle against the Pikes and the Saxons, it was the affair between Lancelot and Guinevere, King Arthur's queen, that changed things forever. Once their affair came to light, the Knights of the Round Table became shadows of their former selves. During an expedition to the Roman Empire, Mordred took advantage of King Arthur's absence and staged a rebellion. Bless you.
Thank you.
That was the beginning of what will later be known as King Arthur's final battle, the Battle of Camelot. It was in this battle that King Arthur drew his final breath. Bedivere personally returned the sacred sword to the fairies, and the final chapter of ancient Britain's history was concluded. After that, King Arthur's body was brought to Avalon, the paradise at the world's end, by the fairies of the lake, and the future king would one day return to life. And that's the quick and dirty version of the Legend of King Arthur. Thanks for listening. Well, it's already nighttime. So with that in mind, let's get back to the British Lostbelt. In proper human history, King Arthur drew the sword of selection while he was still an unknown boy, and amidst the hope, envy, admiration, and prejudice of other knights, ascended the throne as king. Meanwhile, here in Fae Britain, Artoria may still be unknown and unrecognizable, but even so, she wields the staff of selection, and she's still traveling across Britain on her own as the child of prophecy. So she's still got the same name, face, and the same destiny. No way that can't be a coincidence. Which means Artoria Castor is this world's King Arthur. She's destined to become Britain's savior.
Britain's savior, huh? But why now? King Arthur saved Britain in the 5th century, but this is 2019. If she really is Britain's savior, shouldn't she have shown up in the distant past?
That's the question, isn't it? I'm not sure why her story is taking place now either. But I did overhear one interesting thing from some local fairies. Apparently, the child of prophecy is the reincarnation of Aesch the Savior.
Aesch the Savior.
Aesch the Savior, and was sent here to save Britain once again.
Aesch, as in the world tree from Norse mythology?
Hmm? Yep, or at least it's the same name. See, once Morgan began ruling Britain, she officially named this period of the era of the High Queen, and the timing lines of exactly when proper human history changed to AD. But while proper human history stopped in the year AD 2019, In this world, the year 2019 is the era of the High Queen is still unfolding, while the previous era, aka BC, and proper human history, it's called the Fae era. Furthermore, during the Fae era, there was apparently a fairy who saved Britain from the calamities countless times.
Ask the Savior.
Apparently, there was only a few fairies who left who still remembered her.
Ector the Immortal, Grand Duke Wasteheat Rhynek, Grimir the Sage, and Tatrot the First Knight.
Any of these sound familiar?
No, they're made up.
Okay. They still speak volumes of her legend in hushed tones. So if a savior showed up in this world before, that may mean Fairy Britain has a system of her such things. Something akin to a counterforce that the Isles itself is used to fight back when Britain is in danger. And if that's true, that would explain why Artoria is the only born now in this time. Plus, we're going to up against High Queen frickin' Morgan here, who else but King Arthur would fight her. A savior reborn. Anyway, it took longer than I expected, but now that we've gone over everything, I think I'm gonna make two suggestions. First, I think we should continue working with Artoria Caster. While we don't necessarily have to destroy this Lostbelt, it does seem pretty clear we need to face High Queen Morgan at some point. And when we do, having the Child of Prophecy on our side can only work to our advantage. And second, I think we should keep our goal, including Chaldea's whole deal, to ourselves. That's a no-brainer. Because only to tell her that, oh yeah, you're going to save Britain, but it's going to be destroyed anyway. Don't worry, we already kind of summoned you already. Boyzoika and Caster.
We should be almost home. Big project.
Alright, I guess we'll stop there for now. Made some good progress.